You're listening to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast, hosted by Angel Fabian Rivera. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms as Lights Camera Latino and Angel Fabian Rivera. Hello everyone, welcome to Lights Camera Latino, the podcast. This is a place where we dive deep into the captivating world of entertainment with influential Latinos shaping the industry. My name is Angel Fabian Rivera. You can call me Angel, and you can follow us in our social media platforms at Lights Camera Latino and Angel Fabian Rivera. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce not one, but two Puerto Rican authors that I'm excited to introduce. First up, we have Javier Vázquez Jr. He's an actor, educator, and children's book author passionate about inspiring young dreamers. With years of experience in the entertainment industry, Javier has worked in film, television, and theater, bringing stories to life on screen and on the page. His debut book, JJ's Audition Adventure, follows a young boy who dreams of becoming an actor, offering an encouraging and relatable journey for children interested in the performing arts. Javier, thank you for being here, man.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And next up, we have Maria Perez Gomez. She's a storyteller, artist, and advocate dedicated to preserving Latinx culture through the arts. As the managing director of Raíces Theater Company in Buffalo, New York, she champions diverse voices in theater. She is also the award-winning author of The Magical Closet Mystery, a book that celebrates identity and imagination. Beyond writing, Maria is a singer-songwriter whose music explores themes of resilience and cultural expression. Maria, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a huge honor. And may I add that I brought my wonderful husband, Rolando Gomez, who's also an actor and my support system.
Yes, thank you, Rolando, for being here. I mean, we always love a support system. We cannot do this without a support system. There's no way.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so I always like to start the podcast right with a fun question, and I want to ask you both: what's a Puerto Rican dish you cannot live without?
It depende, it depends on the time of the year, right? So
What about
if it's
now? What about this
Navidad,
time?
it's got to be pasteles for me,
Aha.
personalmente. And I've got some boiling downstairs right now.
No
So
tiene
any
que
time
ser
of the year.
Navidad.
Yeah, any time of the year. I love that.
That's right.
I have to agree, pasteles y arroz con
Pasteles.
gandules.
Arroz con andule. I
Ay,
just.
sí,
Oh my
qué
God.
rico.
You know what's funny? I don't like pasteles.
Oh no.
It's so funny. Like growing up, like my mom always loved to do pasteles, and everybody in the family loved pasteles. But I can't. I don't know. I don't know why.
Is it the texture?
The texture, probably.
I think it's a texture. I think I don't know. I mean, I sometimes eat it in parties and stuff because I have to. If there's nothing else, I'll eat it. But I don't love it. It's
That's
crazy.
interesting. Because usually it's an
Yeah.
acquired taste, but if you grow up with it,
Yeah.
you're accustomed to it. So
Yeah, exactly. And then
we love
you add
pasteles. Don't
ketchup.
eat the ones you leave.
You eat them. I'll say sanduchito de mezcla. I'll stay with my sanduchito de mezcla.
Rolando loves
That's
those.
Sanduchito
Yeah.
mezcla. Yeah.
Right? That's
¿Tú
the
sabes,
best.
tú sabes que es el santo de toda la fiesta?
Yeah,
Sanduchito.
el sanguichito. El sanguichito. That's it. That's all we have to eat. I love that. I remember I make some sanduchito de mezcla the other day for some theater friends, and they loved it. And they were like, "What is this? What's the recipe?" And I'm like, "It's actually just spam and cheese whiz. That's
No.
it. That's it. Easy peasy." I
Absolutely.
love that. Yes, and another question I want to ask you guys is, what Latino artists are you listening to right now? What music?
What Latino artist?
Mm-hmm. Ah,
Bad Bunny
I
is
knew.
on eat in my house.
It's
Yeah.
every day.
Ese es el otro santo.
It's every day for my husband. I have to say my regular ongoing favorite singer-songwriter from Puerto Rico is Manolo Ramos. My husband
Oh.
introduced me to him. and he is one of my favorites.
And also la muchacha, ¿cómo se llama ella?
Fabiola Méndez.
I've heard. Is that the one with the el cuatro?
La potrista.
Yeah. I've
La
heard about her. Yeah.
Creo que es la primera mujer graduada con un bachillerato en el cuatro.
Yes, en el cuatro. Yeah.
About that with the book, Ángel, that I'll tell you later when we get there. About Manolo and Fabiola.
Ooh, I love that. Manolo and Fabiola, everybody gets to listen to new artists out there. You gotta go out there and listen to these beautiful artists.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're gonna I wanna talk about the book, but before we dive into your books, I wanna start with your journey for both of you. And I wanna ask you, both of you, what inspired each of you to become writers, and specifically what led you to write children's books? So whoever wants to start.
You want to start, Javier?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Thank you. So at a very young age, I loved writing. And my father always encouraged the writing. It wasn't until I became an adult then that I had a platform through theater, and I started writing scripts. That's where my book was born. It was part of a series that we have called Desde el Puente in honor of my father. And it's a festival series that we do once a year through Raíces Theater Company. I felt inspired to write a children's musical. And that children's musical, I believe, debuted in 2019, and then goes on to become a puppet show for Barnes & Noble. After that, it becomes a full play reading during the pandemic. And then after the pandemic, I find out that this best-selling author, who I admired, Carmen Renee Berry, was starting a publishing company. I found out through Facebook. And so I reached out to her, and I asked her, I said, would you be interested in publishing a children's book? And she said, send me the manuscript, and I sent her the manuscript as well as the video from the virtual reading. And she loved it. So then we went on to write a manuscript. Interesting enough, that first manuscript that I wrote, after we were close to being finished, she said, Maria, I'm sorry, this isn't it. So I actually took a break for about a month or two, and then started back up in 2022, I'd say February or March. And I started writing what became published as The Magical Closet Mystery, El Misterio del Closet Mágico, in October of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. Which then became a musical last year as well. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Really? No, congrats for that. I love that. So this is a journey, and it also tells that, sometimes the first time doesn't work out, right? You took a pause, and then you were like, okay, let's try this again. Boom.
Absolutely. I needed that pause to reset. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part, right, for us, like, to understand, like, why the universe, right, giving me this pause? Why is it not happening at this moment that I want it?
Right. The way I see it, it's all part of the creative process, and the creative process is not linear. Oftentimes it's un vaivén, it's an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And you just got to go with the flow, because if you resist it, then you don't produce your best work.
Yeah, that is true. You gotta go with the flow. You gotta trust the process, and you gotta. It's for every artist out there. Like, no matter what you do, it's just, this is it. This is the life we chose, right? Our minds are constantly working, but sometimes we need to take that second and understand and see from the outside, like, what's actually happening.
That's right. Yes.
So what about you, Javier? Tell us a little bit about what got you into writing.
Yeah. Well, its time frame was similar to Maria, just a year behind. For me, it started during the pandemic, and I was able to, as a friend of Maria on social media, I was able to see all the, amazing things she was doing, and I feel like there's a children's. I've heard people say this before. There's a children's book inside of all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But doing what needs to be done to make a book come to life and make it available to people, so it's a whole nother can of worms. So I had this idea for a children's book that merged the two worlds that I was living in, which is education. I'm an educator and an actor for TV and film, and I realized there was nothing else like it. There was nothing like it on the market. So there's a lot of books for theater, even books on auditioning for theater, which is great. but I wanted something that exposed kids and families to the world of acting for TV and film. And that's where JJ's Audition Adventure was born. I also published my book through Barry Powell Press. Was connected. I've been connected to Maria and Rolando for many years, and reached out to her for advice. And she said, "You need to contact Barry Powell Press." And it was a great phone call, great conversation, and a great experience working with them and molding what was essentially in the beginning a self-help book for kids. And then same thing with Maria. They were like, "This is great, great concept, but this isn't it." And we had to go back to the drawing board and start all over, which is not easy to do. It's difficult, but we turned it into a story. We turned the narrator into a character, and then my book was born, JJ's Audition Adventure.
That's it. And then JJ was born.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Love that. Love that, Javier. Love that you're actually also saying that, your career inspired you to do this too, because you've been in the acting industry for a while.
Yeah.
So I also told you like, hey, like there was a need, right? For you, it was a need. It was like, and also as an educator, it was like, oh, there's something that's missing out there. And you took that and you put it on a book, you put it on letters, you put it on a page.
Yeah. Well, it's wild because when I was teaching in a brick and mortar school, an author came and visited the school, Afro-Latino author, award-winning illustrator as well, Eric Velázquez. Eric Velázquez did. He's done some amazing work on everything from I think Clemente to I'm drawing a blank now because I'm pressured. But we had dinner afterwards. We had dinner that night. We got together, and we're talking about my ideas. I said, I think I have some ideas for a children's book, and he told me something that stuck with me. He says, "Write what you know, write what you live." Living as an actor, he goes, "Right about that."
Yeah.
And I took that to heart.
And you took that and you put it out there, yes, and that's it, and it's a beautiful book about, that tells all about that, and it's a tool also. Like it's not only a book for entertainment, but it's also a tool that is also very needed today.
That's right.
It's filled with industry-specific terms and things like audition and headshot, and all these things that can be foreign to a lot of kids.
Yes. We're gonna come back with that because I wanna talk a little bit about that more. But before that, Maria, I wanna ask you. I know your work. You've been working with theater as well for a while. You've been working with music and all that stuff. So how does your experience in those areas shape your writing, right? The type of writing that you do.
That's an interesting question because I was accustomed to writing for theater, which when you, I by no means consider myself an expert playwright, but I've written quite a few plays for Raíces Theater Company for Desde el Puente. And, when you have the theater, you have the scene that helps the stage, that helps you tell the story, the props, all that. So I found that when I went to write a book, the difference was that you had to paint the entire picture for the reader. And so even though I brought the experience of being a writer to being an author, what was different is that you had to engage all of the senses with your descriptions. So it was very interesting and really different. I had to learn how to navigate both of those worlds and bring them together in a way where it took the person on the adventure without them needing to see the stage. They could just imagine all of it.
Yeah, because when we talk about theater, right? Like you're putting a writing there, but you're expecting on lighting, you're expecting on costumes, you're expecting on so there's some type of things that goes in there to make theater, right? But when you have a book, that's it. That's all they have. It's their imagination, right?
Right. So that you have to help paint the story in a different way. And another thing that I did with this book is I love music, as you mentioned earlier. I grew up in a very musical family. And went to college. One of the things I studied was vocal technique. So I love singing. I love writing songs. And I wanted that to be a part of the story in somehow. So throughout the story, there are QR codes that will then take you to the songs that I've written and that become part of the story as well. And one of the really cool things is that I was able to form this relationship with the singer-songwriter that I mentioned earlier that I admire so much, Manolo Ramos, through social media. We just started chatting one day because Rolando and I were singing a song and he commented. It was one of his songs.
I love that.
So we started talking, and I said, hey, can you listen to this song that I want to include in my book? And he said, he gave me his honest opinion and said, let me produce it. Let me do a musical arrangement for it. So he ended up doing the musical arrangement, the mixing, the mastering, everything. And then since then ended up writing arrangements for another couple songs after that, and producing, mixing, and mastering as well.
Okay, shout out to Manolo out there.
Shout out to Manolo. Yes.
Sure.
Love that. Yeah. So,
Sure.
so people can actually sit down and read your book while listening to the music, right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's just also when it's a children's book, right? But one of the beautiful things about the book is that when the parent take the journey with the child, right? And you get to that point that the book says, click here, the song and the music brings you in even
I
deeper.
love that.
And that's some of the technology that is just beautiful to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. And going back to the experience of theater, right? Like you're actually bringing a little bit of that experience, to every, to people's houses, to people's homes, to people's, when they're reading, they're getting immersed in that whole experience. And, we love that. I love that. I want to do it. I want to sit down and read your book and now listen to the music.
Please do. Please do. Yes.
I would.
I
would definitely do.
Something that was really important to in the songs that I wrote for the book is the Lelolai. The Lelolai is in each one of the songs. And that is in honor of mi papa, Rafael Perez, my grandpa, Jorge, and also in honor of Puerto Rico. Because when we hear the Lelolai, right away, the memories are of our beloved homeland. And it transports us immediately. As soon as you hear it, it transports us. Some people, it transports them to Christmas, to poetry, but it always takes you back home. And so I wanted to bring that component of who we are as a people into the story as well.
I love that. And I want to get a little bit in depth with your story, because I know your story talks about Puerto Rico in a beautiful way. And I love that you're bringing that, because it lets not only us, but the audience know that this is specific to some place, right? And you're also teaching the audience this is part of our culture. This is part of who we are.
Right.
And that is beautiful that you bring that.
Tell him about the reaction of the lady in Puerto Rico, about how you see themselves. What was it that she said?
It was so beautiful. I'm in conversations for an engagement in Puerto Rico, and this woman who owns a bookstore had read the book in Espanol, and she said some of the most beautiful things to me as feedback. And she said that it was beautiful to see herself and our people through the eyes of somebody in the diaspora. She said, sometimes we forget how beautiful we are, and it takes somebody that's away to remind us of our own beauty of our culture, of our traditions. That is
beautiful. That is beautiful. And I believe that stayed in your heart, and that's going to stay in your heart forever, because what you're doing, it's magical, right? Like what you both do, writing, sometimes we take it for granted, but we're actually helping people imagine. We're letting people transport to different places. We're giving people ideas. We're giving people the creativity, and that's the beauty of writing. And sometimes we take that for granted, but we shouldn't. And I love the work that you guys do. And with that, I want to ask you both. I know writing a book is difficult, but writing a children's book is different than writing any book. So what are some of the biggest challenges you both have faced in crafting the story for the young readers?
I guess I'll mention how difficult it was to not put everything in the book, because there's so much to this craft. There's so much to it. There's so many layers, but we recognize that we can't put everything in one book. So having to cut away, take things and say, okay, well, put this on the website and create additional resources. Which is what I've done. I created a resources page on my website, Explore the Spark, where children and families can go and find free resources, a blog, printables, and other links and access to information that is not available in the book. And explanations on, the casting process. All that is, it's so detailed. There's so much information. It's a separate book. Casting itself is a separate book. But for this story, we felt it was important to to share what we did, but cutting off the stuff that's like, oh, I wanted to say this, but it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I must imagine also the vocabulary, right? Like there's
Right.
so many there's so much vocabulary out there for film that kids, it's hard for kids to understand, right? Even understand. So you were probably very like careful of like what you were putting, how you were putting it out there, and for the kids to actually understand it. I know it's very difficult.
Right. You have to keep it age appropriate. And
Yeah.
another interesting thing is, just like these Pixar Disney movies, is you want to write something that engages children but appeals to the adult as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an interesting, concept to navigate. Keep it interesting enough where both can get something. There's a takeaway for both adults and children. And that was something that was very present. It's like, when I read this book as an adult, and I always find it comical that one of the reviews on Amazon, it says it was an adult that was reading it, and she said, "Oh, this is a great book. It's a good book for children too." And I thought that was really interesting. Exactly, as if the adults were the intended audience, But it's a compliment, al fin y al cabo, right? That
it is
interesting enough, and thinks, "Oh, kids should read this."
Yeah, but that's it. It's I think that what you both did there, and it's interesting. You both not only wrote this, you thought about kids, but then you realize, oh wait, like everybody else can actually get something from this, and that's also a layer to it, and I love that too, because there are books that I like to read, but then I'm like, oh, it's too kiddish or it's too childish. No, there's always something to get from it, and as adults we see everything different. And it's beautiful that you both, crafted your books in ways that any audience member can actually read it and understand it.
Yeah, it's about stimulating conversation between the child. If you can get excited about a topic, that, and then have a conversation with your mom or dad about grief, about acting, whatever it is, that's a win for the family.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
right.
Yeah. And with that, I want to ask you both, because I know you both touch themes about identity, self-discovery, perseverance, and all that stuff in your stories. And why do you think it's important to explore these type of topics in stories today?
Do you want me to start? You're going to start, Javier?
Well, in my book, I'll go first. One of the lessons that we have in the book is JJ gets the audition, but he doesn't book the role. So he has to deal with the emotional intelligence, that strength to persevere in spite of the fact that he didn't, get what he wanted, So dealing with disappointment and rejection is part of our industry. It is part of the world, really. Exactly. And we really are proud that we I think, shed the light on that in this story, and provided the kids and provided JJ a healthy way to deal with rejection in the film industry specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, you were kind of cutting out a little bit when you were asking the question. I don't know if that addresses it completely.
No, but yeah. Because why is it important? You mentioned it. You mentioned that your book talks about that, and it's I think it's very, very important, because even as adults, it's hard for us to understand the rejection that we get in this industry, and in general, like you said, Javier. But I think this industry can really break you down in a second, and obviously for kids to start understanding this at a young age, it's very important, specifically for parents as well. Like I've been coaching a little girl for her auditions, right? And I've been having these conversations with her mom of like, how do you? She tells me all the time. She's like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you deal with this. I don't know how you deal with rejection, with like having to deal with auditions all the time and not getting responses and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's tough. But it takes time to understand. Yeah, exactly. But she's a strong woman, with her daughter, and I'm like, you have to be strong with her, and she'll understand, and you'll talk to her, you'll talk through with her. But I think it's a very difficult theme to talk about to kids, and the way you do it, it's in a beautiful way, and I think kids and parents definitely are getting something from it, and I think that's very important for everyone to understand out there.
Yeah.
I remember early on in my career, I don't want to hijack the entire conversation, but early on in my career, I'd get an audition because I booked my first audition in town. So that was the bar. That's what I said. I audition, I book the role, I go to work. And it's like audition and not get the role. That was very difficult for me to transition. So I had to learn that, okay, I can't, because I've got all these all these callbacks. I can't, I was emotionally getting so invested in these roles that I wanted to have. One was for Spider-Man, the bodega owner for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was a good audition, it was a good callback. Everything was positive, and I thought for sure I had it, and I didn't get it, obviously. And afterwards, I was like, I can't live like this. I can't keep doing this to myself. Because I'm going to
the biggest disappointment in this industry that I've experienced, I was working as an actor at the Spanish Repertory Theater in New York City in the 90s. And I booked this national Spanish commercial for AT&T. And they took us to the photo shoot and everything. And the day before, I got the flight tickets, first class, and they canceled the show.
No.
But
no.
Talking about emotional intelligence, the landlady that I used to live right in New York City, she had loaned me the money to become SAG to be able to audition. And when they canceled the show, they gave us back $4,000. So I was able to at least pay her back. And take that emotional thing about when I said to myself, God, if you took this away from me, it's gotta be a good reason.
You said, God,
that's a good reason.
Money to pay back.
Thank you for giving me the money because I have to pay this back. That is crazy.
There's other situations that I'm sure that we're familiar with, people in this industry where they'll film something and a national commercial, but it will never air. Something will happen in politics, something will happen in the news, and the commercial never airs. And you were counting on that check, or you were counting on that moment, that splash, and it doesn't happen.
And that's it.
Or if they recast the role, there's so many things that can happen.
There's so many things that happen behind it, and that's you say it's crazy. It's crazy to understand that, and to after you worked hard for that, and again that's going to be needed in order for you to step to the next level, and because that's how the business works, and it's not out there. It's like, yes, why?
There's always
it is crazy.
Rejection. And go ahead, Javier, and then I'll answer after that.
No, you were saying rejection.
Yeah, there's a lot of rejection that obviously taps into self-worth and when it comes to the process of auditioning and not getting the roles. And then on top of that, then you're dealing with loss because you're looking forward to something that is then all of a sudden does no longer exist as an opportunity. And then I was going to mention that that's what my book deals with as well. As it deals with loss, but at a different level. It deals with it at the grief level of losing somebody that we love. And that was a really important topic for me to bring to children's lives because it's something that's just not talked about. We don't have safe spaces for children to talk about hard feelings. It's usually something that's brushed over. Children are seen as resilient. They'll get over it. And you don't talk about it. I think I lost my brother when I was 11 years old. My mom was unable to really comfort us. Obviously, she had just lost her son. And my father, the only words that he mustered and that still means something so profoundly to me was, let's cry together. And we both, my brother and I sat and we wept together as my dad and my brother and I. But that was it. And then all the traditions changed in the house. We stopped going to church, to mass on Sundays. Our lives completely changed. And that's one of the themes that I thought was so important to deal with. We write about what we know, as Javier alluded to earlier. And that's where the power of story lies, is in our experience. And so that's the experience that I bring to this book, is helping children to process loss through adventure, through music, through culture, through traditions, through language acquisition, and bringing it together in such a safe way where you don't even know that you went on that journey of grief. because it was done through an adventure, So it was really important, basically, to have a platform where I can invite children to experience their sadness in a way that felt safe to them.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Can I read a part of the book to you all real quick?
Yeah.
This is JJ with his tío Rolando wearing a red shirt. Rolando's wearing a red shirt.
He is. He's ready.
Of course.
Playing the part, Papa.
He's just comforting his nephew, talking about being the rejection that he just experienced, and he gives all these explanations prior. But this is a line I wanted to read. He says, "I didn't become an actor because it's easy. I became an actor because I love it. I love making people laugh and smile. I love telling stories and for people to see those stories come to life. Sometimes they pick me, sometimes they don't, but I never give up." Never giving up, that theme of,
That's
resilience.
beautiful.
That's right.
Important for kids to know, you're going to be rejected. You're going to have loss.
Yeah.
Go through some things in life, but never give up.
And also to remind people that, you're doing what you do because you love it and you're passionate about it. It should not be anything else there, because if it's about money, like, I'm sorry, money's going to come next. If it's about stardom, that's the luck. That's a lottery, right?
Yes.
But if it's about how passionate you are about it, that's different, because that's gonna get you there. And the passion and the love that you got for something is gonna get you to the next level, and it's gonna bring you joy to just be there. And sometimes people forget that, right? Like even me sometimes, I've been in this industry for 8+ years, right? I'm still a baby, but sometimes I look back and I'm like, why am I doing this? Why? And then I have to remind myself, oh, no, you're doing this because you love it and you're passionate about it.
Right.
And this is what brings you joy. And that should be the whole goal of what we do in general.
Yes, I was just thinking about that joy. What brings you joy is precisely what brings you healing. And when you heal, you're able to heal others. And that is, I was actually thinking about a part of my book. One of my favorite parts is when one of the characters discovers what his gift is, and it's music. It's his voice. May I read you just a small part of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So it says, this is when Juanito, the iguana, is playing his cuatro. And he's playing a song that Luca recognizes as the lullaby that his father used to sing to him when they were children. And it's a Lelolai lullaby. Their father had passed away. So Luca's really struggling with his grief. This is that moment, okay?
Yeah, parenthesis for everybody out there, like you gotta go look what a cuatro puertorriqueño is.
That's right.
You probably heard it in Bad Bunny's music, but cuatro goes really, really, really back in Puerto Rican history. It's like a smaller guitar. That's the way to look at it.
And it's a national instrument.
Yes, and it's beautiful. And now they teach it at colleges, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they do.
So you gotta go listen to what a cuatro is. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And thank you, Maria, for bringing the cuatro in your story, because it's very from us. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, abuelo. Okay. Juanito began strumming a song that carried the likes of a crying heart in each chord. As he strummed, the music became louder. Before long, the melody wafted through the hot air like a cool breeze. The children looked at each other, recognizing the melody brought a familiar feeling that reminded them of home. Luca looked away. Juanito's strumming began stirring within him a sadness that he didn't quite understand. "Please stop strumming," he whispered inside of his beak, but Juanito ignored him. "Please stop strumming that song on the cuatro," he whispered once again. Juanito kept strumming. Suddenly, Luca felt an energy rise deep in his chest. It was a song he had sung long ago with Papi, a song enveloped by the love between a father and son. It went like this. Lelo, 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 lelo.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I felt it. I felt it. I felt it. I love that. And now hearing that line, and when I'm hearing that paragraph and hearing your story, it's parallel to what you've lived, right? And
Mhm,
it
mhm.
is beautiful. And like you guys have mentioned, you write what you've lived, right?
That's right.
You write what you know about, and that is beautiful to see how writers bring their essence to what they write. Like no
Yes.
matter what you're writing about, no matter if it's something completely
Mhm.
opposite to you, there's always something about you in there,
That's right. That's right.
and it's
Always.
beautiful. And it just gave me chills. It's beautiful
Thank you.
to hear the Lelo Lai, and I just imagine el cuatro there. It's just beautiful.
Well, the
And the
little light.
relatability too.
Hmm.
Say that again, Javier.
And the relatability too, because you're reading your story, and it's I'm thinking of my grandparents and my
Yeah.
great aunts and great uncles
Yeah.
that used to play the cuatro, and how so few of my generation can play. When I think
right.
back
Yeah.
to my grandparents and all of their brothers and sisters, they could all grab a guitar or grab a cuatro. They weren't all incredible, they weren't all great, but
But
they
they
were
can do
able
it.
to make music. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's something
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
it's encouraging to know that there are programs out there keeping that alive.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's
I
culture,
unfortunately see that around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
talking about the
definitely
little
culture.
light.
Mhm.
Talking about the Lelo Lai, Maria developed she was chosen to be the keynote speaker for the New York State bilingual educators. And
Oh, nice.
from the book, she developed the power of the Lelo Lai.
Oh, love that. Love that. Yes. Bringing Puerto Rican culture everywhere. I love that.
Yeah, and basically it's about that. It's about cultural identity, but
Mhm.
also finding the universal message that the Little Lie gifts to all people. So it wasn't
Love
just
that.
about us; it's about all of us. What's in
It's
it for
about all
all?
of us.
It was
Love
a
that.
universal call
Yeah.
to the healing process.
Mhm.
But in our culture specifically is the Lelo Lai,
Yeah.
and how it translates into the universe,
Yeah.
in the cultures,
And everyday living, yeah.
everyday living, exactly.
Yes, and everyday living. And talking about cultural identity, I want to ask you both, because how do you guys see Latino representation today in children's literature specifically, and what are your hopes to see in the industry and in the future books out there?
I'm seeing, in my research, I'm seeing more and more of it, and more celebration of, of Latino culture, which it looks different for all of us, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Mexican. Is it at the levels it should be? Probably not.
No, right.
Probably
right.
not. But I'm definitely seeing more than what I saw as a child.
Yeah.
Definitely
I
seeing more
have
Latinos
to
on
agree with
TV than I
you.
saw as a child.
Yeah.
But definitely, there's still a long way to go.
It's an uphill battle still. I have to agree with that. One of the most powerful stories that I hold dearly in my heart is of a little girl that the mom sent me a message on Facebook, and she said that her daughter had been waiting for the Amazon truck delivery of the book. And she said that when she looked at the book and she saw my name, she said to her mother, "Mommy, I didn't know that we could be writers too." She was a little
Oh, that's
Puerto
good,
Rican
man.
girl. Yeah.
Ah,
And of course, we all
ah.
cried. We all cried. All of
You're
us.
making me cry right now.
A moco tendido, como se dice en Puerto Rico.
We all cried because, and that's why it's still an uphill battle. When you can see your name and look at it as the norm, then we're getting somewhere. But if you still look at a Latino name and think, boy, I can do that, there shouldn't be a question in their mind that they can be writers. There are more books that are available, but what we do have to contend with is videos. It's the social media. There's a lot going on that our children are more attracted to, that is much more gratifying in terms of how quick it is. A story requires sitting down. It requires you pausing and using your imagination. It's not feeding you everything. You are acquiring it through the descriptions.
Creating yourself.
Yeah.
And so it is an uphill battle that we will continue to fight. We will continue to write and bring quality stories to our children's lives, and offer opportunity hopefully through our example to other people to continue to write and read as well.
I love that. Yeah, no, thank you for both of you for sharing that because I think it's very important to feel because it's not only about representation, it's about identity, right? Like we've talked about identity and it's we talk about like seeing yourself,
Right.
like growing up, I didn't see myself on screen, right? And that's why I wanted to
Mhm.
do what I'm doing today, and to have such a Latino name as Angel Fabian Rivera, it's like
Right.
people are like, well, you're gonna keep that name? Well, I'm gonna keep that name because that's who I am. That's
Exactly.
I'm not gonna change it to John.
Good for
Uh,
you.
but it's about that, right? It's about even the name, even how the name is so powerful. Like,
Yes.
and I believe like we all here in the room have that powerful Latino name that nobody's gonna remove from us, right? And that is the beauty of it. That somebody else out there, some kid out there, is gonna see that, it's gonna see you, it's gonna read that, and it's gonna say,
Mhm.
"That's me."
That's
I can
me.
do that because we can do anything that we want in life. That is true.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you see somebody being something, that doesn't mean that somebody else cannot do it, and
Hmm.
that's the importance of what we do, right? Like
Hmm.
we not only do this for the joy of us, but we're also inspiring people on the
That's
way,
right.
and that is the beauty of what we do, of art in general.
That's right.
uh
You
Definitely,
paved
yeah,
the way.
definitely.
yeah.
It was Read Across America last week, and obviously I took advantage of that opportunity to read my book to some local schools. And there was a kid in the front row that as I was reading my book, he noticed Tio Rolando, which
Mm.
is
Mm.
your guy, Afro Latino, and he was like, "Hey, it looks like me,"
Oh, that's great.
That's
I
so
love it.
cute.
you know,
I
and
love it.
and he's Afro Latino. We don't have to explain it. Like we don't have
Yeah.
to explain
Exactly.
his relationship and his love for his family and the type
Yes.
of, Latino family, which is very diverse
Mhm.
Diverse.
in its
Mhm.
skin tones and all that. But then
Yeah,
you have
no. Uh-huh.
it's
And
an
I, and I,
important
and I and
thing.
I love no, I love that people get to experience that too, Javier, in your book too, because you people don't understand that we are so diverse, even in the Latino community, right? Like
Yeah.
people think we look the same, and we don't. Look at that. Look at the diversity of colors
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting, Javier, because in Angel, I was very intentional in the choices of who went on the cover of my book. Um, the Spanish represented with the little
Mm,
lighter
Put it
skin with
closer.
the blue eyes, el trigueñito
Put it closer.
y la taína.
mm,
That was really important to me as a writer, that we would be represented just like if it was for you,
Yeah.
Javier, to have that represented within our books so that children can see themselves, all children, you know.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Everybody can feel represented. Everybody can see that there's more to it, and I love that. And before we move on to the last part of uh this whole experience, because I've had a great time with you guys. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
I want to ask this question that I've always had, and maybe people out there are writing a book right now, right? And they don't know what happens. And I want to ask you both if you're able to answer this. After writing the book, what comes next? Can you walk us the process of what you have to do in order to get your book in people's hands?
Mhm. I think that in our case, Javier and I did hybrid publishing.
Mhm.
So it's not your traditional, you sign the contract and they do all the work, and you get your royalties. You don't have as much creative license as well. We did have more creative license in the process,
Mhm.
but it also means that we did a lot of our marketing and continue to do so on our own. So
Yeah.
it makes it a little trickier in that sense.
Mm,
But thank goodness we're both in a field where we've made relationships with people. We've created this network of people that support us and have opened the doors for us. And we continue to knock on doors. Some people open, some people don't, pero pa'lante, you know?
yeah.
So I
Mhm.
think that process, I had somebody tell me one time, boy, you're really lucky. I said, no, it's not luck.
Mm,
We work hard.
Mhm.
We work
Yeah.
hard to get where we want to go. We have a vision, and obviously without a vision, the people perish, as the famous quote says. So we have to maintain the course and stay focused, but we have to work hard. We have to work hard
mm,
to get the word out there for our books. No es fácil. Hay que trabajar duro.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, and I see it because I've been following Javier I mean, I know Javier for a while, right? And when he published his book, it's been everywhere, it pops everywhere, and I love it, and I see the hard work that you guys put
Yeah.
behind it because it's not. you gotta sell your book, right? Like you're looking and not only sell it, but you want people to get to it, right? Like how do you get to everybody,
Right.
with your book, which is the hardest part, I believe.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
is. It is. And it requires, you mentioned, the people around us, the people that believe in us are supporters. And you'll be surprised where the big, the people you expect to support you sometimes
Mm.
don't. And then the
Right.
support comes, sometimes from strangers and people you don't
Absolutely.
but, it's wild. But a good friend of mine was in New York City, and she stopped in at Drama Bookshop, which is owned by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And she was, asked to speak to the manager and says, "Hey, I have a friend. He has a book." She explained, she was familiar with the book and the storyline. And he said it was crazy. Just yesterday, a customer came in asking for a book just like that,
Wow.
similar. And I told her it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And here you are today, telling me about the book.
Bringing
So
it.
we started
It's
emailing back
wonderful.
and forth. And before you know it, me and Denise and my family were on a plane to New York City doing an author talk back at Drama Bookshop. We met Lin-Manuel Miranda, signed all the copies of my book. It's on the front of their store, on a huge shelf. And it's just an honor to be, included in that incredible, store in that library.
That's
I
beautiful.
I, I love that. Mhm.
Can I say one thing that
Yeah.
Yeah.
leads me to another point when it comes to writing a book and having to engage in the
Develop your audience.
promoting and marketing our
Mhm.
stories is that you can't be shy.
No.
You
You
cannot
can't.
be shy. My sister's very outgoing. She's a director. She's an artist. She sings, but when it comes to certain things, she's the shy one. And I'm the
Mm.
one that no le tengo miedo a nada cuando se ven esas cosas y soy cara de lechuga. With Fabiola Mendez, who ended up writing one of the musical arrangements for my musical that was debuted last year in Buffalo. I sent her
Mhm.
an email. I didn't know her. I said, what can I lose? I sent her an email. Hey, would you be willing
Wow.
to review my book in Spanish? Me dijo que sí.
Mhm.
And then she comes to Buffalo for a concert. I'm looking at her. I look at my sister and I say, hey, does Juanito have to be a girl? Because
Mhm.
does Juanito have to be a boy? And my sister says, absolutely not. Fabiola Mendez ends up being in the musical and
Wow.
Love
producing
that.
a song
I'm playing the cuatro live in
live
the musical.
on stage.
Wow.
But it's because you can't be shy. All that to say is you cannot be shy. You got to knock on those doors and be okay with the ones that don't open. It's all right because when it does open, it's going to be wonderful. And you want to work with people that can match your level of passion, not detract from it.
Yeah. I always say the worst that they can do is say no.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all that's gonna happen. But you gotta get out there. There's no other way that you're gonna make things happen if you don't work
That's right.
hard enough for it. And that's the true thing. People think that, like you guys said, like people think you guys did this overnight, and it didn't happen overnight. It took
Yeah.
time. It took hard nights, and it took a lot of work and
Mhm.
a lot of doors knocking. Like you were knocking a
Right.
lot of doors, and that's the only way it's gonna happen. If we get out
Mhm.
there, we gotta get
And
ourselves out there.
and speaking of, next steps, like you write a book, and similar to the acting world, for TV and film, for people in your audience that are very familiar with that, there are book agents. So just like actors have
Mm.
agents, representatives, that they have, that exists in the book of authors as well in the book world. Um, we have film festivals. So you go to this one website and apply, Film Freeway. You submit your film to different film festivals. In the book world, there's Author Pro, I believe, which is a
Yes.
website where you go and kind of like submit your book, and you pay to submit your book for awards and things of that
Oh,
nature.
nice.
So, there's a lot to it. The publicist and, getting out there if you want to invest and include grow your team and include others in
Hmm.
that.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Hey, is everybody out
You
there,
don't have
right?
to do
Let's
it by
write
yourself.
books now. It's
Just,
not that easy.
just,
It's not that easy.
just
We're
do
about
that
to.
first, and then there's the
I love that. Okay, guys. So before we finish, we're gonna go to uh Latino Trivia Showdown. Okay. So
Mhm.
this is how it works. You get to choose the challenge. pick from 5 categories, and I will ask you a question, okay? Depending the category that you guys pick. We have history, guess the song, guess the celebrity, food, or entertainment. So, what do you guys prefer?
Let me consult with my lifeline.
History.
And I will ask you 3 questions, okay? I'll give you 2 possible answers for each question.
What's the list again?
I want to say history.
So, you want history? So we have history, song, celebrity, food, or entertainment.
Song? No, I'd say it's either celebrity or food. What do you think? Let's go with food.
You want food? And Javier, you want history?
Yes.
Okay. So
I
we're
was
gonna
a
start
social
with history.
studies teacher, so if I lose this, I'm gonna be in big trouble.
Talk, Carla, you need a lifeline.
Okay, so Javier, I'm gonna start with you with history. And this one you're supposed to know it. Let's see. What year did Puerto Rico become a U.S. territory? A.
1900, huh?
No.
You want me to go and tell you?
Multiple choice?
Yeah, multiple
Oh,
choice.
yes. Hallelujah.
So,
Okay.
A. 1898. B. 1899. Or C. The day my abuela decided she was switching from cafe to Bustelo.
When did it become a U.S. territory, you said?
Yes, 1898,
Yeah.
1899. 8, you got it. Ding, 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 ding. That's it. Which Latin American country had a canal built through it?
Panama.
There you go. And the last one of history. Who was the first Latina Supreme Court justice in the U.S.?
Sonia Sotomayor.
There you
There
go.
it is. Come on, you're good. You're good at this.
Good job, Javier.
Great job. You got 3 out of 3.
Oh, man.
Now
the
we're
pressure.
going to food.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
Honey, you
Which
should-
dish is made with raw fish and lime juice? Ceviche, sushi, or sushi spicy Latino cousin?
Ceviche.
Ceviche, you got it. The next one. Which country is known for bandeja paisa? It's either Venezuela, Colombia, or the place where portion control doesn't exist.
Venezuela or what? You said?
Y Colombia.
Or Colombia.
Oh, man.
Dilo otra
Bandeja
vez.
paisa.
Bandeja
Which country is
paisa.
known for bandeja paisa?
It's gotta be Colombia.
Yeah, that's it. Don't think about it too much.
My
Yes.
sister's married to a Venezuelan, and I've never heard him say that. So
Oh my God. And the last one. Which country is famous for mofongo?
Puerto Rico.
Eso! 3 out of 3. Okay, you both rock this. You both rock this. I love it. Okay, so again, thank you both for being here at the podcast. I really appreciate you both. Like the work that you guys do is not easy, and I love that you guys are bringing your stories to books and to children's and getting it out there and thinking about identity, thinking about self-discovery, thinking about resilience, thinking about being who you are and accepting who you are, and all those things are in your stories, and I love that. So before we leave, I want you both to tell just a piece of advice to young writers out there that are wanting to try writing. Maybe they're like, I should not do that, or it's scary. And also share your social medias and what's next for you guys, or where can people find your books, and where can people reach out to you? I know it's a lot, but
Sure. I believe I'm on social media as María del Pilar Pérez. And I also have a page for my book, The Magical Closet Mystery, on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And the next thing that we have coming up is a trip to Puerto Rico to a bookstore and some schools in April, the week of April 21st through the 27th.
La semana de
And we're going to do a reading of the book. So I'm recruiting some actor friends of mine.
Yes.
And
Love that.
I actually asked also Fabiola if she would be willing to be a part of the reading, which she said yes. So I got to work on the date and make sure that she can do it that day. So we'll be doing that in Puerto Rico. And then a word of advice, I think and we already talked about this, is that we hear it said a lot, which is don't give up. Trust the process and don't give up. But also hand in hand is be consistent with the work. In order to produce, your dream. You have to be consistent and you can't give up. Trust the process.
Yes, love that. Thank you for sharing that. Also, Maria, where can people get your book?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much any bookstore you can have it ordered, but a lot of people buy it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I also have a website, The Magical Closet, plural, Mysteries. And you can find video, photos. I have a blog. I write a newsletter every couple of months and send that out to people that subscribe as well.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Thank you.
So for me, you can go to explorethespark.com, explorethespark.com. I have blogs there, resources for people to use, as well as links to wherever the book is sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, books.com. Next for me, professionally as an actor, I'm continuing to audition and work in that field. I have a commercial coming out in April, I think, with Shaquille O'Neal for... That's going to be pretty exciting.
Okay.
And I also have a web series that I'll be dropping that's going to be short form content on Facebook. So if they follow my fan page at Facebook, Javier Vázquez Jr., they can see news on that. It deals with a group of Hispanic actors in the Atlanta area and their lives and what they go through on a daily basis to make it in this industry or not make it. We'll see what happens.
I love that.
That's great.
Yes. Well, thank you both for sharing your stories, talking about your book. Everybody out there, please, let's support Latino authors and grab the books right now. Okay. This is all about supporting Latinos in the industry, Latinos who are shaping, Latinos who are changing, the future. So please buy the books. Thank you for listening to this episode, Lights, Camera, Latino. And I always like to end with this piece of advice. When life knocks you down, levántate con más fuerza, keep fighting.
That's right.
Hasta la próxima. This was Lights, Camera, Latino, the podcast with Maria and Javier. Thank you, guys.
Gracias.
Gracias.